Order up.
Caribbean Kitchen, foods offer 7 unique blends of premium, low-sodium Jamaican seasoning that will add a burst of flavor to your dishes. Our authentic, all-natural Jamaican seasonings are a game changer when it comes to adding a burst of flavor to your dishes. Our products are kosher, all-natural, contains ingredients that are gluten-free and GMO-free. Our seasonings are handcrafted with the highest quality ingredients. We source our ingredients from the Caribbean to capture the authentic taste of the islands. Unleash your creativity in the kitchen and savor the taste of the Caribbean with our spice blends. Enjoy our variety of seasonings that are flavor-packed to deliver the best taste for your dishes. Get ready to create delicious meals that will excite your taste buds and leave your guests asking for more. Try our exclusive curry and jerk seasonings for an extraordinary cooking experience. Our blends are an excellent choice for chicken, meat, fish, and vegan dishes. Add a burst of flavor to your cooking with our top quality Jamaican seasonings. Grab one of our bundles and enjoy the taste of the islands.
Shalom family, it's your brother Benaiah Ben Israel, and can I tell you something? This is something epic, the first of its kind, a monumental event of historical proportions. You see, the African Israelite Justice Foundation is hosting an event in Charleston, South Carolina, November the 15th through the 17th, called the My History, My Heritage Empowerment Summit, in partnership with Gullah Geechee Tours to provide a once-in-a-lifetime conference experience. On November the 15th through the 17th of this year, Israelites all around the world will gather where the sun turned into darkness and the moon did not give her light, and the sign of the Son of Man did appear in heaven. The My History, My Heritage Empowerment Summit will offer historical tours both day and night by the one and only Gullah Geechee Tours. We also plan to offer authentic Gullah Geechee cuisine by the granddaughter of world-renowned Gullah Geechee cuisine chef, Emily Meggett. We also plan to host a beach or park Sabbath day service and fellowship, culminating with an African Israelite Justice Foundation conference in the heart of Charleston, on the historical grounds of an African Israelite resting place with a replica ship and a plantation house. You see, to know where you're going, you have to know where you've been, and learn how we can repair the breaches in the walls of Jerusalem together and help defend our heritage, our history, and by the grace and mercy of the Most High Yah, be empowered to victory. Hallelujah. Well, family, come on out and join us in Charleston, South Carolina, November the 15th through the 17th, and be a part of this unforgettable weekend where history, heritage, and empowerment converge. Well, hope to see you there, Israel. Take care, and shalom.
There we go. All right. Shalom, shalom. Hopefully everyone's doing good. If I could please, family, or if you could please, let's just do a quick sound check, Ms. Picard. If the audio sounds okay, if you could please just put a quick 1 in the chat. A 1 in the chat if the audio sounds okay. I believe the mics are working today, so hopefully this will be a quick. Thank you, family. I see the ones in the chat. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started, family. Like I said, I don't want to keep you long. Actually didn't plan on doing a live at this time, but definitely wanted to bring everyone up to speed as to what just happened this Saturday. Like, this Shabbat, while we were all enjoying Shabbat, relaxing, fellowshipping, or whatever you were doing during Shabbat, something major happened this weekend. And of course, mainstream media is not covering it, but just want to make sure everyone's aware. And just want to throw this out there, family. This is not to, fearmonger or anything like that. At the end of the day, we know Yahuwah is in control. If anything, this will just hopefully motivate your prayer life. Make sure that we are all ready and that this thing can go down at any time, right? Because I know coming from different backgrounds, in this walk, I understand that we all have different understandings or different perspectives when it comes to prophecy. Like, where are we on the prophecy timeline? Some believe that there's a series of events that have to happen before the end, like Armageddon and stuff like that. Whereas others might believe that, hey, we're closer to Armageddon than ever before. Like, a lot of these prerequisites have already been fulfilled. I'm one of those people. But again, we all come from different backgrounds, so I understand that we think differently when it comes to this. But anyway, long story short, family, let me just go ahead and pull up my slides here, family, because this past weekend, it was almost game over, and not a whole lot of folks knew about it, right? It was not a whole lot of folks knew about it. All right, well, before we go through this quick presentation, like I said, this is going to be super quick, family. Just a couple of editorial notes. So just know that as far as programming notes, just know that as far as like upcoming videos, we do have another Hidden Hebrews coming up, but this is going to be what we call an introductory video. It's mainly geared towards those that are new in the awakening, just coming across this information for the very first time. So this is going to be a refresher or a reboot of Hebrews Run, basically. So that's what's due on the docket to come out. Hopefully, I think we're scheduled for it to come out this weekend, but if not, maybe next weekend. Also on the docket, we have a video coming up on shadow banning with a focus on YouTube and how to get around it. If you don't know, I personally have 2 software patents, and this is just another challenge for me. So I do want to review something with you as a way to get around shadow banning. And I'm not sure if there's anyone out. Well, we'll review it together. So that's scheduled for this week as well. And then the other thing, family, just want to let you know, there will be a slight change as far as like the cadence or the releasing of certain videos. So going forward, family, I know we haven't really started using this pattern just yet, but going forward, hopefully we'll start this week. But starting this week, we're going to start releasing the videos first on Hebrew Connect TV. If you guys aren't familiar with Hebrew Connect TV, just type in Google Hebrew Connect TV. I'm sure you'll see the link there. Basically, it's just another platform out there, just like YouTube. However, this one's different. This one's, Hebrew owned and operated, right? So shadow banning and all stuff like that won't apply when we're using this platform. So we'll review this in a informational schedule this week as well. But just know that when videos come out going forward, we're going to drop it on or publish it on Hebrew Connect TV first, as well as Patreon. So I just want to show love to our Patreon supporters. And the way to become a Patreon supporter, we were asking folks to become a $1 a month Patreon supporter. So for as little as $1, it supports the platform. Your support and donations go a very long way as far as paying for licensing and everything that comes on these videos. Family, it's not free. We have to pay for it. So shout out to and much love to our Patreon supporters for supporting this platform for us. I know some of you all have been a Patreon supporter for many years. So much love and much thanks, family. But if you would like to become a $1 Patreon supporter, just go to Patreon and just look up Benaiah Ben Israel. So 2 platforms. When we do our video release going forward, it's going to be on Patreon first and on Hebrew Connect TV. And then after that, we will release it to Rumble. So we do have a Rumble account. And then also to YouTube. So YouTube will be a little bit further on down the food chain when it comes to releasing videos. And of course, we have TikTok. And there is a TikTok video that's set to go later this week. It'll be different. So again, this TikTok video will also be geared towards those that are new to this information. So there'll be some new information in there for people that's just waking up to the truth. All right. Well, without further ado, let's get into it, family. So again, there was an incident that happened this weekend that nobody's talking about. Well, I'll say that mainstream media is, they're covering it, but they're not really giving it its just due, in my opinion. So with that being said, let's take a look at the videos, and you can judge for yourself what went down this weekend.
President Putin has said tonight that the US and European countries will be directly participating in Moscow's conflict with Ukraine if they lift restrictions on Kyiv using long-range missiles to strike Russian territory. He said this would change the nature of the conflict and mean the US and other NATO countries were fighting with Russia. So Keir Starmer, who's currently heading to Washington, is expected to discuss the use of such missiles tomorrow with.
Hey, family, just want to make sure that the audio on the video is okay. So can everyone hear that? If the video sounds okay, if y'all could just put a quick 1 in the chat. Just want to make sure you guys can hear it before I run through the whole video. It sounds good on my end, but I just want to make sure. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Picard Ray Chantel. All right, thank you, Ms. Picard. All right, let's go ahead and go.
President Biden. European countries will be directly participating in Moscow's conflict with Ukraine if they lift restrictions on Kyiv using long-range missiles to strike Russian territory. He said this would change the nature of the conflict and mean the US and other NATO countries were fighting with Russia. So Keir Starmer, who's currently heading to Washington, is expected to discuss the use of such missiles tomorrow with President Biden.
For Ukraine, the timing with winter coming is critical. So on the agenda for Sir Keir Starmer heading to Washington with the Foreign Secretary, whether to green light attacks on Russian territory. The Russian president warned against that.
If this decision is made, it will mean nothing other than direct participation of NATO countries, the United States, European countries, in the war in Ukraine. It is their direct participation. And this, of course, significantly changes the very essence of the conflict. This will mean that NATO countries, the United States, European countries are fighting with Russia.
So I'm trying to emphasize this point, Judge, because on Saturday morning, every American got up and went off and did their business. We almost all died on Saturday. Had Biden said, nah, we're going to do it, we'd all be dead right now, because once the Russians did that, we'd have to respond with nuclear weapons. We'd have no choice. And then 72 hours later, because that's all it takes, Judge, 72 hours, minutes, 72 minutes later, an hour and 12 minutes, we'd all be dead. That's all it takes for the world to be gone. And that almost happened on Saturday. I'm not.
Now, it's interesting that he said 1 hour and 12 minutes, 1 hour and 12 minutes. And just to kind of tie this back into the prophecy for those of you that are, prophecy buffs, that kind of ties back into Revelations 18, verse 10, where it says, standing afar off for the fear of her torment. And this is about the judgment of Babylon, where it says, saying, alas, that great city, Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour, right, in 1 hour, which is 60 minutes, but Scott Ritter is saying 72 minutes, which is an hour and 12 minutes, which is interesting. But anyways, it's for in 1 hour is thy judgment come, right? That's Revelations 18. So just throwing it out there.
Bluffing. I'm not joking. This is as real as it gets. This is why Biden was so furious, because he was humiliated, because Putin basically told him, I've made the decision that we're all going to die because of you, you idiot, you moron, you nincompoop. Don't attack Russia. This is the red line of red lines. Don't do it. And yet they're still talking about how they can do it. But we are as close as we've ever been since the Cuban Missile Crisis of having global nuclear war. We almost all died on Saturday. And that's not a bluff. That's not an exaggeration. We were 72 minutes away from the world ending, only because somebody made a phone call. Look, he's 100% correct, but it's even more than that. It wasn't just Putin that spoke. Here's the dangerous part. We have people, Tony Blinken amongst them, but also British and NATO members who think that the Russians are bluffing, that these are red lines, that Russia's not serious. And Putin said, if you use these weapons, and we know how to do it, and you don't want to know how they know, because they've captured intact ATACMS missiles. They've taken apart the warhead. They can see the I think it's a KYK 13 or something. It's a port for encryption. The GPS signal used on the ATACMS is a military-grade GPS signal. It has to be encrypted in order to prevent it from being spoofed. To do that, you have to have special keying material, which is American only. So in order to encrypt this, and you have to change the encryption frequently based upon a schedule published by the National Security Agency, there has to be American hands on that. So in order to take an ATACMS missile, load in the GPS signal so it can be fired, an American hand has to touch it. Putin said that in his presence. We know this. They've also captured the storm shadow guidance. They know what goes there. They know that terrain following radar signal is taken from intelligence. They've taken the intelligence. They saw the inputs. They know that this comes from the United States target planning cell in Ramstein, in NATO, and they know that in order for this to strike a target in Russia, America has to not just approve the target, but plan the target, bring together components loaded into the system. And he said, we know this. So if you do this, you will be attacking us. You will now be a direct party to the war. But we say he's bluffing. Well, guess what? The
All right. So just in case if you missed it, so basically, family, Russia, they captured the systems, right? And they saw that in order for this system to work, it has to have input from American soldiers. In order for it to work, it has to. And so some people might be looking at this and saying, well, wait a minute, isn't this Ukraine just firing missiles over into Russia? But what Putin's saying is that this system requires all American input in order for it to work. Because we know it requires all American input, the moment that these missiles come, and of course I'm paraphrasing, right? Game on, right? This is basically NATO attacking Russia, whole dynamic changes. And Scott Ritter, he's going to go into a little bit more detail as far as what that really means.
Russian ambassador to the United Nations in a session of the Security Council. That means they are seated there, said, if you do this, it will be a declaration of war. The Russian ambassador to the United Nations in a session of the Security Council. That means they are seated there, said, if you do this, it will be a declaration of war. He said it at the Security Council, to the Security Council, letting them know with no uncertain terms, this will be war. Anatoly Antonov on Friday furthered that. He said, not only are we going to hit NATO targets, and we will hit NATO targets, we will hit America too. Your hands will be burned by this. But even then, Starmer flew to Washington, D.C. Blinken flew to Kiev. They were going to do it, Judge. They were going to do it. Then the back channel call came in. We believe that's done through the intelligence services. And the Russians made it absolutely certain what would happen, to include, I believe, the targets and the weapon systems that would hit them. Did you see how mad Biden was when he had to sit down with Starmer? How furious he was? And they said, did you have to back down to Putin? I have no use for Putin. Well, Putin humiliated him because he was ready to sign off on that. Blinken overrode. Remember, Lloyd Austin last week in Ramstein told Zelensky, no, you can't do this, because the Pentagon understands what's going to happen.
Right.
They understand the role they play. The Pentagon knows that you can't attack Russia without American fingers touching it. And they say, we don't want to be a party to this conflict because we trust the Russians when they say there will be consequences. But Blinken and Biden overrode it because it's political now. If you remember during the debate, the question asked by ABC News to both candidates, do you want Ukraine to win this war? Well, that's the exact same line of speech that Tony Blinken used. We want Ukraine to win this war, and they can only win it if they can equalize the playing field by striking deep. Russia came back and said, we will basically destroy Kiev, not with nuclear. They will use Avant-Garde. It's a hypersonic warhead on strategic systems. It hits the ground with the equivalent of 26 kilotons of high explosive, more powerful than the bomb used at Hiroshima or Nagasaki, but it's conventional. They'll take out Kiev, but then they're going to take out sites in England, in Brussels, in Germany, and in the United States. And they made it clear, this is going to happen instantly. The decisions have already been made. We will automatically do it. You can't stop it. So I'm trying to emphasize this point, Judge, because on Saturday morning, every American got up and went off and did their business. We almost all died on Saturday. Had Biden said, nah, we're going to do it, we'd all be dead right now. Because once the Russians did that, we'd have to respond with nuclear weapons. We'd have no choice. And then 72 hours later, because that's all it takes, Judge, 72 hours, minutes, 72 minutes later, an hour and 12 minutes, we'd all be dead. That's all it takes for the world to be gone. And that almost happened on Saturday.
So just a quick comment, family. So with all this turmoil and war that's going on, whether it's over in the Middle East, over in Russia, this is just to drive home the fact that the world is close, family. The world is close. And this is one of those things where, a lot of folks, including myself, we weren't aware that this drama was playing out on the weekend. Like this drama was playing out on Saturday. And I guess this drama could be playing out even as we do this live today, right? But it just goes to show you, family, that we are close.
I'm not bluffing. I'm not joking. This is as real as it gets. This is why Biden was so furious, because he was humiliated. Because Putin basically told him, I've made the decision that we're all going to die because of you, you idiot, you moron, you nincompoop. Don't attack Russia. This is the red line of red lines. Don't do it. And yet they're still talking about how they can do it. But we are as close as we've ever been since the Cuban Missile Crisis of having global nuclear war. We almost all died on Saturday. And that's not a bluff. That's not an exaggeration. We were 72 minutes away from the world ending, only because somebody made a phone call.
Does Joe Biden, does Tony Blinken, does Jake Sullivan know that?
They now do. That's why they changed their minds. That's why they went, oh, we're not going to sign. Starmer came with the target there. You saw his little red bag. What was in there were the targets. We want to hit these targets. He was going to get Biden to sign off on it, and then they were going to strike that day. And the Russians said, no, we'll kill everybody. We're done. We're finished. We're not playing this game anymore. You invaded Russia in Kursk. You have them attacking us with long-range drones. We can handle that. But when they come at us with your weapons, with your hands on them, hitting targets you selected, then you're part of this war, and we're gonna hold you to account.
Here's President Putin's very measured public warning, cut number 5.
It is not about allowing the Ukrainian regime to strike Russia with these weapons or not. It is about making a decision about whether NATO countries are directly involved in the military conflict or not. If the decision is made, it will mean nothing less than the direct participation of NATO countries, the United States, and European countries in the war in Ukraine. This is their direct participation, and this, of course, significantly changes the very essence, the very nature of the conflict. This will mean that NATO countries, the United States, and European countries are fighting Russia. And if this is so, bearing in mind the change in the very essence of this conflict, we will make appropriate decisions based on the threats that will be created for us.
There it is.
There it is.
Very, very mild-mannered, very patient. Obviously not with the detail that was relayed from their intel to our intel. But there it is. Now,
we've talked about Putin's measured statement. We talked about the direct statement made by the Russian ambassador to the United Nations and Anatoly Antonov's statement. We talked about the back channel, but the one we didn't talk about was Dmitry Medvedev, who basically said, if this happens, Kiev will no longer exist. And it will be hit not with nuclear weapons, but he said the non-nuclear weapons we have that will bring about nuclear type results. That's the avant-garde. Zelensky doesn't understand that he's going to die. He will die, his entire government will die, and the city of Kiev will die. It hasn't gotten through his head. This isn't about equals. This isn't about leveling the playing field. This is about Zelensky, who initiated a war of aggression against the Russian-speaking people of the Donbass, an anti-terrorist operation that allowed the Ukrainian army to go in and butcher women and children and innocents. This is about a man who lied about the Minsk Accords. This is about a man who turned his back on a peace treaty. This is about a man who has empowered the Banderist and Azov Nazis. He will no longer exist. This isn't about equals. Vladimir Putin is a legitimate leader of a viable nuclear-armed power. Zelensky is the leader of a broken nation governed by oligarchs and corruption. And, it's high time the West replace this man, because he is. And again, I just want to say this to your American audience. You almost died on Saturday. You almost died. I almost died. I'm mad. I'm mad as hell. I didn't want to die, but it was out of my hands. That man, that insane man that you just saw speaking, holds your fate in his hands because he's putting pressure on a president, Biden, who's in a very difficult political situation.
He's talking about Zelensky. I actually cut that part out, but he's talking about Zelensky, not Putin.
Where he's going to gamble our lives because he's afraid of the consequences of his bad policy in Ukraine. Because he's going to be embarrassed, we're going to die. When are we going to wake up and demand that the policies change, that this idiot in Ukraine no longer get to hold the fate of the American people, the fate of the world in his hands? Let's take control of our own destiny. But in order to do that, we got to get rid of him, and we got to change this policy.
Well, and there you go. So, all right, family. Well, like I said, this is not to fearmonger or to get you afraid or anything like that, family. But just want to make sure you're aware of what happened this weekend. It was one of those 0-hour events where the world came extremely close to Armageddon on Saturday, and we were oblivious to it, right? Oblivious to it. So keep your prayers going, family. Make some practical preparations, food, water, and all that good stuff, because we plan as if we plan our days not knowing what day is, what time is going to happen, right? So we plan as if we are going to go to work this week, kids go to school, that sort of thing. But we also plan just in case something else goes sideways. So anyway, but there you go, family. Like I said, just want to bring that to your attention. Thank you, Ms. Picard, TK, for your gift. Thank you. Much appreciated. And that's it, Ms. Picard. Like I said, I just want to make this short and sweet. Didn't want to keep you too long. Just be on the lookout for videos coming up in the near future. And love you, Ms. Picard. Talk to you later, and shalom.
Shalom, family. It's your brother Benaiah Ben Israel. And can I tell you something? This is something epic. The first of its kind. A monumental event of historical proportions. You see, the African Israelite Justice Foundation is hosting an event in Charleston, South Carolina, November the 15th through the 17th, called the My History, My Heritage Empowerment Summit, in partnership with Gullah Geechee Tours, to provide a once-in-a-lifetime conference experience. On November the 15th through the 17th of this year, Israelites all around the world will gather where the sun turned into darkness and the moon did not give her light, and the sign of the Son of Man did appear in heaven. The My History, My Heritage Empowerment Summit will offer historical tours both day and night by the one and only Gullah Geechee Tours. We also plan to offer authentic Gullah Geechee cuisine by the granddaughter of world-renowned Gullah Geechee cuisine chef Emily Meggett. We also plan to host a beach or park Sabbath day service and fellowship, culminating with an African Israelite Justice Foundation conference in the heart of Charleston, on the historical grounds of an African Israelite resting place with a replica ship and a plantation house. You see, to know where you're going, you have to know where you've been, and learn how we can repair the breaches in the walls of Jerusalem together, and help defend our heritage, our history, and by the grace and mercy of the Most High Yah, be empowered to victory. Hallelujah. Well, family, come on out and join us in Charleston, South Carolina, November the 15th through the 17th, and be a part of this unforgettable weekend where history, heritage, and empowerment converge. Well, hope to see you there, Israel. Take care, and shalom.